Welcome into Fantasy Football University, FFU, coming at you in week 12 of the regular season, week 12 of the fantasy football season. I am Mr. Bill DeCouslis, and I am here with the returning Mr. Tom Lang. How you doing, sir?
I'm doing great. Unfortunately, I was away for our weekend breakdown show and I was away for work and I am back. And as you all know, I was here on Sunday. So
Yes.
let's get into it.
Well, welcome back, sir. It was a very, very crazy week 12.
Yeah.
We managed to in our high stakes league we managed to pull off another 1-1. That's been our MO as of late. Still in second place, but we will keep everybody updated on how that is going. Now with Jonathan Taylor back, hopefully we can step our game back up indeed.
Yeah,
Um,
unfortunately, we had the Emari Demercado play and everybody knows what happened there. It's just, the guy got slightly injured and didn't find his way back onto the field.
yeah, and it looked like that was going to be a great pick considering how
Hmm.
many points and passes that the Arizona Cardinals put up. We'll be
Oh
talking
yeah.
about Arizona today to my dismay. Some other quick reactions. I've never seen a worse team in my life than the New York Jets, and I'll continue to never see a
Hey,
worse.
I will say though, I mean they drove down the field, they showed some promise, and then after that it was over. After they scored 7 points, it was like, we're done.
Yeah. And just to that point, we talked about the words competitive advantage earlier in the season. So, hey, they've already declared that Tyrod Taylor is going to be the quarterback this week.
Smart move, coach.
So I guess they don't need competitive advantage, keeping that a secret from anybody anymore. So congratulations, congratulations. Oh my goodness. Quick reactions to last night's game too, So Dallas seems to be, rocking and rolling again on offense, and we'll be talking to well, actually, I wonder if we have any players from Dallas, but I wanted to bring up now Dallas is going into a couple of difficult matchups. So we'll point out if maybe our expectations are going to be adjusted. I know that we're rocking and rolling with Dak Prescott.
Well,
So
I will
well,
say that I mean there was a massive emotional stance last night, especially with Keeland. Basically they lost Keeland. I think it was Monday after or Tuesday after the game, because they played before their bye, they played on a Monday. Um, and so this was their first game back basically from that, but then also this is the first game back from the trade deadline. Um,
that's
and
right.
they made some massive, massive moves on that trade deadline, which basically bolstered their defense. So, um, we all saw what happened with Quentin Williams yesterday. He had 1.5 sacks. He had a tremendous amount of pressure, and basically held Ashton the 7 yards rushing on the
Basically.
ground. The thing is though, the team didn't run the ball. I think he only ran the ball. The stat was basically they ran the ball 3 times, no, 4 times in the first half, and three of which were from Ashton Jeanty. One of them was a scramble, a non-designed run. So they were not balanced at all. They were kind of scrambling, even when they didn't have to scramble yet. Like they just needed to establish the run and just keep focusing on it. But that defense was looking really good. Their secondary is still a little weak, but who needs a secondary right now if you got that much pressure up front?
Yeah, I echo your sentiments, but I don't want to overreact to it. Las Vegas has an horrendous offensive line. And you've so not been a Geno fan, especially like this entire year. So great. I'm not gonna I won't overreact to it. I'll put it that way. We'll see how it works for him. And having watched Quinnen Williams for as long as I have, yeah, he'll stuff a couple of runs. Hopefully he can do something more than that for them going forward. I did want to get your reactions to the Detroit Philadelphia game. So if Philadelphia is going to win games like this going forward, their entire offense, maybe we just need to rethink how we think about the ceiling on any of their players, Barkley, Brown, Hurts,
I
etc.
think, I mean, I think it was a product of the weather, to be honest. There was some really bad winds that were actually happening. And um, I was listening to a radio show basically on on Tuesday, no, sorry, on Monday, yesterday. And they were talking about basically some of the houses out there basically lost power. That's how heavy the winds were. So I don't know. I mean, I think it was a product of the nature of Mother Nature, and that's just what happened. And because if you look at it, Jared Goff, obviously, you were looking into this game where Jared Goff was going to have a really rough game because against this secondary, um, and the pressure, but it didn't do well with passing the ball down the field. So it all lined up together. I think honestly, it was a product of the weather, and I do think. They're going to figure it out. Both teams are going to figure it out, on both sides of the ball.
I hope so. Especially in the Lions, like I'm not going to make too much of the whole media thing that they were talking about, Dan Campbell,
Well,
calling
going on
plays,
fourth,
whatever,
yeah.
and all that stuff. I mean, that's who he is. That's what they do. I mean, they convert on some of those. They probably win the game. So, and I'm not going to comment on on the whole ref thing. I mean, if they convert on, like we said, like if they convert on any of those fourth downs, they get that win. So, but it's pretty much a foregone conclusion now. Like unless something untoward happens, I mean, the NFC playoffs is going through Philadelphia again. So, you know, uh, probably marching their way right to the Super Bowl. We'll see. We'll see if the Rams have something to say
We'll
about that.
see about that.
We'll see. Any other quick reactions? You want to jump right in here?
Unfortunately, Calvin Ridley went down again, and he's done.
Oh, that's right. We'll talk a little about him for the drop
My
candidates.
my shining star of the offseason.
Yeah, he
He
shines so bright.
he shined for 5 seconds.
All right, let's jump into this.
I am so lucky I didn't draft him. He shined so bright.
Yeah, so lucky indeed. All right, so week 12 here, we've got two teams coming back off of bye, and we've got four teams going on bye here, the Broncos, Chargers, Dolphins, and Commanders. So we'll point out where that affects things. So also actually before I jump in, I've actually remembered this time. So all of our drop candidates and waiver options will be posted in the description of this episode's video on YouTube. So please check us out there as well.
Yep. And
Uh,
if and again, not to cut you off there, but if you guys that are watching this video, please share, like, share, and subscribe to our channel. We truly appreciate that.
We appreciate it. So drop candidates. You guys know the deal. The IR guys first. Austin Ekeler, James Conner, Najee Harris, Miles Sanders, Kendre Miller, Cam Skatebo, and a new addition, J.K. Dobbins. They are on
And we're
IR.
not just kidding.
No, we're not. They are on IR and done for the season. Now, I got it. J.K. Dobbins is done for the fantasy season. They have a fun quote there, which is if Denver makes it to the Super Bowl, J.K. Dobbins will be back for the Super Bowl, which is interesting considering that by that point, presumably RJ Harvey will have, helped get you there. And then all of a sudden he's back for the Super Bowl. He's going to be the lead guy. I don't know. Either way, for fantasy, he's not going to be there. So you guys could let him go. Um, Other drop candidates now. Now it's like, now it's time to start making some moves here. We're in week 12. You're getting close to your fantasy playoffs. You need to start paying attention. So let's start top of the list. Kimani Vidal Sassoon. So everything I'm reading says Omarion Hampton is coming back after their bye. So obviously they're on bye this week, but then after the bye, they'll be coming back. So he had a bad game and he got like a little hurt in the game.
Yep.
So is it a foregone conclusion that it's just okay, Hampton's back, he's the guy, you don't need to worry about Vidal, and even if then it's some sort of a committee, even if Hampton were to miss an extra week, or how do you see the Chargers backfield here?
I mean, I think if Hampton's got back, that means Hampton is back, but I do think that they're going to integrate him at least for one game into the system. So, but I don't think that's fantasy relevance for Kimani Vidal or Patterson, whoever they have back there. So honestly, um, personally, I have Omer and Hampton in about 50% of my leagues. I am not starting him week
First for
13.
first game back.
Yeah, I'm not starting in week 13 when they come back. Even if it's, even if I like need
Home
to,
versus Las Vegas, you're not going to start him.
I don't know if I can. It's a great matchup. Like I said, I'm about to say, it's going to be a juicy matchup. It's something that you may want to, but if you have options to fade to for stability, go that route because you just don't know how much he's going to play. And if that you don't know if they actually may bring him back for that game. Like, even if he's a healthy active, he might just play 10% of the snaps, and that's not going to do it. So,
Maybe. I don't know if I don't know if I'm that as conservative as you are on it. I will say that maybe it's just a product the entire Chargers team looked horrendous that, and maybe it's just a partially why Vidal looked bad and literally everybody on that team looked bad. But everything I'm reading says Omarion Hampton is coming back, so we'll assess that in 2 weeks from now, if we're going to start him or not.
yep.
Other drop candidate here. We talked about it last week. So Nick Chubb, he's a complete distant second option to Woody Marks at this point, and they're splitting backup duties with Dari Gumbawale. We already talked about it. Let it go. They got some, and not to mention Houston has some really difficult matchups coming up now. So just let him go. Not worth it. And your favorite drop candidate of all time, JCM, Tommy.
Thank you.
So let's just count the reasons. So now with Chris Rodriguez as the quote unquote lead, we'll talk about him. Everybody else is, first of all, the whole thing is basically a committee. It's not worth it anymore. And they're heading into a bye, and they've got tough matchups after that. It's time. You just
I
let him
mean,
go.
does 45%, 16 touches, 79 yards on the ground, 6 yards in the air sound like it's a committee?
We're gonna talk about Rodriguez. I mean, we could talk about snap counts because yes, by definition of snap count, it's like 30 to 19 to 18 or
16
something like
touches
that.
though. 16 touches.
I understand that. I'm just saying, like from a total usage perspective, I, we're hey, we're gonna talk about Rodriguez.
Let's
Don't
talk
worry.
about him.
Yeah. Also another quick note here. So for some other drop candidates, so especially considering the teams that are going on by, you could get rid of some handcuffs if you absolutely need roster space. If you're worried about it, don't do it. But for example, since the Broncos, Chargers, Dolphins, and Commanders are going on by, if anybody was worried about Tyler Bidet, you could let him go for a week.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna let him go just
Yeah.
forever.
For the like we just pointed out, Vidal, you can let him go into the bye. The Dolphins, if in an emergency, if you need to drop Ollie Gordon, you're probably okay to drop him just for 1 week. And we already talked about the Commander
I
situation.
wouldn't go that far. I think if you held him onto this long, you
Maybe
have
you're
to hold
holding him.
on to, yeah, you got to hold on to Ollie Gordon.
All
So
right. Yeah.
scratch that, Billy. Scratch that.
Okay. Well, it's just a thought if you wanted to.
Yeah,
All right.
this is just a thought. Don't do it.
All right, so general options here again. We sit rep the entire league, but we go out of our way to point out guys we want to talk about. And so, unlike the last couple of weeks, this is actually a week where running back ads could be good, and this might be the last week that they could be good for the season. So let's jump into this here. Top of the list, it's no surprise here. Sean Tucker, widely available in both leagues, unbelievable performance, and we've seen this from him before.
Yeah.
This kind of thing, but the thing is, like, does it mean nothing when Bucky Irving comes back? If he comes back?
It does mean nothing when Bucky Irving comes back. I think it's the same situation basically that that's in play with Emari Hampton. I don't think they're gonna force Bucky Irving back into the system where he's getting 100% of the touches, right? Or 80% of the touches. I think that, Sean Tucker's increase has increased for the past couple of weeks. He basically week 8, 12 touches on the ground. Week 9, start week 10 because on week 9 they were on bye. Week 10, 9 touches on the ground, 2 touches through the air. Sorry, 2 targets through the air. Buffalo 19 rushes on the ground and then basically 2 through the air. So, that's 21 touches right there. And yes, you don't want to go off of last week's production, right? He did this last year, and let me just pull this up real quick as we're discussing this. He did this last year.
Yeah, just as you pulled it up, I just wanted to mention I remember him distinctly doing this last year and then doing very little after that
Yep.
because
It
then
it
Irving was
was
back, etc.
it was against New Orleans. There was 2 touchdowns. He had 34.2 points. He had 14 rushes for 136 yards, 1 touchdown, 3 for 3, 56 and a touchdown. All right. Awesome. Guess what he did the following week and
Right.
moving forward?
Right.
Nothing. Nothing. Absolutely nothing. He was the number one running back that week. He went 43, 57, 54, 70, 28. 94. So like, and I can keep going on with these high digit numbers. This is a guy that you want to target in your leagues, but he is not somebody that you want to use your number one waiver priority with. He is definitely somebody you want to have on your roster because you just don't know what kind of Bucky Irving's going to be coming back. If he may be another 1 week opportunity,
That's true.
but outside of that, he is not your league winner. He's not winning you a league. If you throw him in your roster for the rest of the season because you feel like he's a great flex, he's not. And you're going to lose your league. So um, pick him up, utilize him up this upcoming week because he still has value. But do not look long term with him. If you're looking short term and need him for the buys, that's fine. But do not look long term. Do not spend a massive capital on him.
Yep. Well, let's talk about a guy who, I don't know if I would use the words league winning, but I would talk about a guy for the probably the most long-term value. And so Chris Rodriguez. So we actually have a couple guys on this list that I know Tommy could take a mini victory lap on. So yeah, Tommy, I'll let you talk about the breakdown. I want to just say my only trepidation on it is Washington's bad. They're going into a bye, and even as best as you're going to paint it, they are still going to involve three different backs to it. But yeah, why don't you go ahead and sing his praises here?
Yeah, I mean, I should do what Billy did to me a couple weeks ago about the draft. When we talk about Joe Mixon, I should literally recap word for word what I've been talking about all season, right?
I never poo-pooed Rodriguez.
No, 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 no,
That's the
no, no.
difference.
There was no poo poo. There was no poo poo. But what I should do is I should literally say Chris Rodriguez is going to be the back late in the season. Hold on to him, stash him. Chris Rodriguez is going to be the back going into the late in the season. He could be a league winner potentially. Go get him. Go get him. JCM is
Be
I
nice.
shouldn't say the word, but JCM is droppable.
He is. He's a drop
Yes,
candidate.
here's a drop candidate. So,
We
what
don't we
goes
don't we
into
don't
the
we don't need to go
what
viral for the
what
wrong
goes
reasons.
into the drop candidate? What goes, when you throw something into the garbage can, what is that called? Trash. I said it. So, move on.
Yeah,
Move on. Chris Rodriguez is the guy. He's been bumping up in snap counts. He's been being productive with his snaps. Yes, it was against the Miami buzzsaw defense, right? But Miami's been playing pretty decent, right? So I think after this bye, they are going to the younger guy. Well, I mean, they're all young, but they're going to the guy that has been productive. You need to have Chris Rodriguez on your roster. He is definitely somebody that can be, I won't say league winning, but he is a RB2, RB3, somebody that's going to throw stability for injuries, for you guys that don't basically capitalize on your handcuffs at times. This is a guy that can help you get to that next level in case of an emergency.
Yeah, I agree. I agree with everything you said. And again, I think a lot of times with Washington here, we're living in the moment. I mean, there was a period of time where we were like, hey, maybe McNichols is a shot, but this has been some level of consistency where they're going to him more often,
Yep.
a couple games in a row here. I echo all your sentiments. I don't have too many negative things to say other than it's just going to be a low ceiling. But again, maybe you don't need the highest of ceilings in the whole wide
Let's
world off of the waiver wire.
let's
So
just let's just put it this way, right? So he is number 20 running back 24 in the last 2 weeks. Oh, sorry, last 3 weeks, week 9 through 11. He has 33 touches on the ground, 160 yards, 2 touchdowns. Okay. You want to hear what Chris McCaffrey has? Chris McCaffrey is number one, 53, 217. So basically, Chris Rodriguez has a better yards per average by zero point 0.7 and 3 touchdowns. Now, obviously, Chris McCaffrey has all those catches through the air, which is makes him that number one right there. But again, on the ground, we look at it as a running back. That is showing almost identical. He's basically 50, 57 yards off, right? But he's showing a better yards per average right there. So he's definitely somebody that I would really feel comfortable with plugging in if needed. Again, RB2, low end RB2, high end RB3. So he's a consideration of a flex play week in, week out for me.
yep. Well, definitely not this week because they're going into bye.
Correct.
Yeah. Um,
So.
let's talk about some other guys.
Oh, this other guy I want to talk about too.
Devin Singletary.
Oh, I do. I do.
So,
Because a lot of people poo-poo on him too.
well, I would love to get your opinion here. I actually really don't know what to make of the Giants and the Giants backfield. I even texted you during the game. I think Tyrone Tracy looks good. I really
He
do.
does.
I think he's super talented.
There,
Uh, I think the ceiling to some degree might be higher with Jameis, just because of excitement and, explosiveness or whatever. I think they're both viable. They both vulture each other a little bit, but they're both viable, right?
yeah, I mean, so this is, excuse me. This is what I think about Tyrone Tracy. So there's two backfields that I feel the same way about this. So you got Tyrone Tracy on the Giants and you have Bashaw Tutin on the Jacksonville Jaguars. They're putting up almost equal numbers. And they both, I mean, obviously Bashaw Tutin was on bye two weeks ago, I think it was, right? 3 weeks ago. But he's been productive with his snaps. Like last week, yeah, obviously it was a blowout, but he was actually getting touches early in the game that was over snapping ETN until ETN basically took back over and scored those two touchdowns. Go back to Tyrone Tracy, it's pretty much a 50-50 split. And you know, the thing is Tyrone Tracy is being a little bit more productive in the reception game, but for the last 2 weeks, last 3 weeks, Devin Singletary and Tyrone Tracy are back to back at 21-22. Devin Singletary is pretty much looking like their goal line back as well too. If Jackson Dart is going to be, benched because of injury or because, they just don't want to get him injured because they've had some heavy injuries this year, the Giants. And they are playing competitive. They're not getting blown out. He is definitely somebody that I would want to target as my RB2. Same kind of situation as we just discussed with what you call it, Mr. Rodriguez. I think I actually would value uh Devin Singletary over Rodriguez right now based on how the team is playing. So um I would feel more comfortable with Devin Singletary as my RB2, and he's definitely somebody that should be rostered. There's no reason for him to basically not be as rostered as he is right now. He needs to be on your roster because he's going to fumble. He's going to fall into the end zone maybe every other week, and he's going to have the opportunities to do so.
Sure. No, I don't disagree with
Especially if
you.
Jameis is on that field. I mean, last week we were hoping for 500 yards, but next week see 500 yards. Who knows?
We could very well. They got enough. They got a tough matchup next week as
Well, they got
this
tough.
week as
I mean,
well.
the Green Bay Packers were a tough matchup, but they exploited a little bit, and they showed that they still have some ground to play. So
That's right. The next two names here could be the most valuable in the short term, but probably the least valuable in the long term, other than for,
yeah,
insurance appeal. But really pay attention here. So I'm talking about Emmanuel Wilson and Ken Gainwell. Emmanuel Wilson, so he looked great spelling Jacobs. I know I've always been a fan of him. We've been elucidating him the whole year about like you need to have Wilson on your roster, especially if you have Jacobs, and this is why you saw what happened. So go ahead and pick him up. I mean, we don't know what's going on with Jacobs just yet. They haven't declared it, but just judging from what I'm hearing, it looks like he's going to miss one game at least. So you
at
need to
minimum.
you need to rock and roll with Wilson. Ken Gainwell, I mean, we saw it already earlier in the year. The one game that Warren missed earlier in the year, Gainwell blows up and has an amazing game. Happened again. Now, the funny thing with Warren here is Warren himself said he was okay and that he would have gone back into the game. I don't know if I believe him. That's some of that player coach speaky type of stuff
Yeah,
that Tommy and I both like. It doesn't matter though. Gainwell needs to be rostered. Gainwell looks great. He really
I
does. Like,
think I think honestly they had a little bit of a scare, because he got hurt. He got hurt before Rodgers got hurt because Rodgers basically
right.
fractured his left non-throwing hand, so or wrist. So, they did get a little scared with that. I think, and honestly, Gainwell did perform. I mean, Gainwell, he gains well. So
All right. All right. So those are two names need to pay attention to. Tajae Spears, again, I mean, how many times are we going to talk about him in where he's, widely available? Same as last week, low ceiling, but he consistently performs in a PPR format.
Well,
Every
just back to Gainwell real quick though. The past 3 weeks, if you're not in a PPR, his value is not anything if you're not in a PPR. If it's a regular standard league, but if you're in a half point or obviously a points per reception league, that's where Kenneth Gainwell's value is because he basically went 12 for 23 on the ground for the past 3 weeks. But
Yeah, but
through air,
I don't care about that because Warren was there. Like m most of the value I see in him is handcuff stuff, really.
yeah. But for the next, I mean, I think massive value is through the air for him.
Sure. As well, especially if Warren's not there.
I mean, they were using Johnson slightly on the ground
Yeah, that was just a little bit of a spelling
until
here and there.
until he fumbles the ball.
Yeah, so back to Spears again. So, I mean, we talk about him every single week. I mean, until his roster percentage goes up, until people start really respecting him. I mean, it's a low ceiling, but he's consistently performing in PPR formats.
Yep.
He needs to be on your team. I'd rather roll with him than, you know, yo-yo A or yo-yo B that you could be rolling out there like every single week at the running back position. Speaking of yo-yos,
Hmm.
let's talk about the Arizona backfield situation. Like
How about we don't?
I told you, and I was telling Johnny, like I'm so sick of talking about them every single week. But the point is that there's value here somewhere. It's just we don't know what it is every single week. Like last week, we were all set for Emari Demercado, who was set to have a great week. He gets injured, and then Bam Knight has a nice week. So here we go. Let's just name the names. Trey Benson.
And Bam Knight could have had a bigger week, but he had that touchdown called back too.
That's true. You got Trey Benson, 50% on ESPN, 69% in sleeper. Is he coming back from injury? Is he coming back from IR? We don't know. Does Gannon tell us anything? We don't know. Bam Knight, 39% in ESPN, 27% in sleeper. Is he the lead back? We don't know. Does it matter if anybody else is injured? We don't know. Emari Demercado, he was injured in the past game. He's 28% on ESPN, 48% in sleeper. Is he the PPR guy? Is he the main guy? Is he coming back from injury? We don't know. Michael Carter, who had an amazing game earlier in the year, 8% on ESPN, 8% on sleeper. He's the most widely available, probably the easiest to pick up. I don't know how you could throw him in there if, nine other backs
Uh,
are they're being like, I don't know what to make of this.
I do though. I do. Honestly, I think right now, if it's going to be one of those three backs, when minus Trey Benson, because once Trey Benson is back, Trey Benson is back. But I think Bam Knight is basically the guy that basically he's not a feature guy, right? He's not featured. They're going to utilize all three, but he's going to be the most productive out of all three and have more of the better opportunity in the games in the great game script. So he's going to have that opportunity. Unfortunately, Emari Demercado got injured and that kind of like took Drew away. And through the years he has been injury prone as well too. So I do think that Bam Knight right now is the guy in that backfield, but it's not great.
No, it's not. And I just want Benson to come back because that'll add the clarity to your point.
Do you
But
want Benson to come back because you have him on your roster somewhere?
no, I don't have him at all. I want him
All
so
right.
that we don't have to keep talking about
All right, cool.
every
I
every
just wanted to make
Arizona
sure this
running
was
back.
no personal gain conversation.
Yeah, the personal gain is that I don't have to keep typing out every single Arizona back every single week, every single waiver show. Like it's getting too much. And by the way, every single time that we do a preview show, the Arizona backfield ends up being the well, whoever the lead guy is that week. Well, you could throw him in if you want to. Like I'd rather play Spears every week. I'd rather play, Rodriguez now. You know what I mean? Like it's just like I'm done with this. Okay, I'm just done. Um,
Yeah.
yeah. So speaking
I,
of,
yeah, and I think, and honestly, I mean, whoever is that, running back is going to get some passes, in the backfield because, Brissett has been prone to do more dump offs than COD Murray.
yeah, so Brissett, who set the record for completions in a game this past week. So we'll be talking about him later today. We'll jump through the league real quick.
We just talked about them.
Like we always do, Arizona, we just talked about them, and And
We don't want to
please,
talk
I don't want
anymore.
to talk about them anymore. Atlanta, Bijan, and Algier. Love that even in a game where Bijan goes and crushes it, Algier has to steal at least one touchdown.
He's such
Uh,
a hoarder.
Baltimore, Derrick Henry, and I just wanted to ask you, as the resident Derrick Henry owner, so Justice Hill didn't play in the game. He had this past injury. It did result in committee work with Keaton Mitchell and the other guy, I forget his name. So I'm not sure if is Hill still worth rostering as a quote unquote handcuff. Is it even worth it or
Yeah, yeah, he's worth it. I mean, I think over Keaton Mitchell for sure because Hill is the third down back. He is a better
when
pass
he's not
catcher.
injured?
Yeah,
Okay.
he is the better pass catcher there.
All right, Buffalo. It's now official, despite what Tommy says. So James Cook is the lead, and Ty Johnson is the handcuff. If you're the Cook owner, you need to have Johnson.
I'm still holding on to Davis in
Oh,
one other league.
you get kick returner. Carolina now. Rico Suave is officially official. If it wasn't before, he's the lead back, and Shuba is the handcuff. It is what it is. I
Yeah,
mean,
you got
just
a
go.
multi-million-dollar handcuff. Congratulations, guys.
Yeah, just go look at the snap counts, go look at the work. It is what it is, but you can't deny production, Tommy. Rico's been great. So keep rolling with Rico. Chicago Swift and Mononga is the handcuff. Cincinnati, you only need to roster Brown. Nobody else is necessary. Cleveland, same thing. You only need to roster Judkins. Nobody else is necessary. Oh, I didn't get your opinion. What did you think of Shador's debut there?
Good luck, Cleveland.
All right, Dallas. So we watched it. We watched it last night. Javante's the only back worth rostering there. Malik Davis seems to be the guy who's going to be the handcuff, but it's probably a full committee. So you only need to roster Javante. Denver now with Dobbins being out for the rest of the year. Harvey is going to be the guy. In terms of his backup, you guys ask Sean Payton. It could be Bidet, it could be McLaughlin, but you
It's
roll with
McLaughlin.
Tom and I, you and I hope so because we think he's talented. But
Yeah, I feel like it is McLaughlin. I think Bidet is a better pass protector. But which could result to, maybe a little dump off here and there. But I do think that McLaughlin's the more talented back.
I think the bottom line is that you don't need to roster any of those other guys
No.
other than Harvey. Detroit, we know what's up. Gibbs and Montgomery, Green Bay, we talked about this. Houston, so Mark, we talked about this. Like you could roster Marks, you don't need to roster anybody else. Any further news on the Joe Mixon situation? Because a lot of people are still rostering him.
No news is not so good news right now. So
All right, Indianapolis. So we talked about this. Taylor, in terms of who his handcuff is, again, I still think it's Giddens. I still think that's why they went out and drafted him, but we don't have any idea. I know that Tommy's 50-50 on Goodson. So you guys can make that decision. I still think it's Giddens. You guys can roll with how you think. Jacksonville, Tommy, I mean, Jacksonville here, Etienne and Tootin, I mean, they're both great. They
yeah.
really are. But Tootin got injured in the game. So does that make you trepidatious about him going forward?
No, I think I mean, he was back. He didn't go out and he was out for the rest of the game. Obviously ETN did capitalize on those two touchdowns when they probably would have utilized two in on one of them. But honestly, I don't see there being an issue. I think honestly, the reason why they traded Tank, outside being potentially a distraction, was that Base Joel Tootin was ascending, and he's a really good running back. He shows a lot of flair basically when he moves, and he basically doesn't. He's not afraid to run through 350-pound linemen. So
Oh, you're right. Kansas City, Pacheco should be back. Pacheco and Hunter are both 50-50 guys. They're both valuable to keep. Las Vegas, Genti, full committee. If he goes down, you don't need to roster anybody else. The Chargers situation, we talked about it. The Rams, Kyron is the back and Corum is the handcuff. Miami, Devon Achan's the man and Ollie Gordon is the handcuff. And he's back to being the handcuff for, I don't know what that blip was
yeah, I
last
told
week.
you. I told you.
I think it was connected to that little business he had 2 weeks ago, whatever that little
But
tiff was.
see, that was not something that was his problem. That was a coaching problem.
Minnesota, Aaron Jones, and you should probably roster Jordan Mason again. He's back to being the handcuff. I mean, he did have that nice little play for the touchdown, but his work now is not as significant. Again, it's not like he dominated in Jones's absence. You guys could decide if that's worth rostering. We know New England. We know the deal. What's going on there? Henderson is now the guy. Stevenson will be back though, just to make everybody who owns Henderson really unhappy. So, and I'm sure he's going to be used. But after his performances as of late, it seems like Henderson's going to be the lead guy. New Orleans, Kamara is the man, and I mean Devin Neal is the handcuff. I don't know how valuable either of them are. So
No,
maybe Tyler Show raises the ceiling a little bit, but judging by the game lines, it doesn't look like it. So.
no.
You guys decide if that's even worth it. Obviously, you need to roster Kamara at the very least. The Giants, we talked about it. The Jets, Brees Hall is the man, but you know, this whole Isaiah Davis thing. So I don't know. You guys decide how valuable you think the handcuff is. They're not going to sit down Brees at any point, Tommy. It's just not going to happen. They're going to try to win as many games as they can, and he gives them the best chance to win. So
Uh, I don't know. We'll see.
okay, we'll see indeed. Philadelphia. Barkley's the lead and Bigsby's the handcuff. Pittsburgh, we talked about the situation. Both Warren and Gainwell need to be rostered. San Francisco, McCaffrey's God and Robinson's the handcuff. Seattle. So Walker became the guy again now. I'm sure that'll continue every single game. And there's not going to be any issues between Walker and Charbonnet trying to identify who's the more valuable guy rest of the year. Oh my gosh. The Seattle situation is just the gift that keeps on giving going forward. Tampa Bay, we talked about it. Tennessee, both Pollard and Spears need to be rostered. They're both very, very low end, if they are RB2s, but high RB3s. You could throw them in, they're going to get more points. Yeah, so that's Tennessee. And the Washington situation, we talked about it. They're going into the bye now, but I agree with Tommy. Coming out the bye, the running back I want in Washington is Chris Rodriguez. So you get to, there you go. We got there finally. It took us 12 weeks, Tommy.
I said late in the season.
Late in the season. All right, let's talk about some wide receivers. Drop guys that are on IR. Malik Nabers, Tyreek Hill, Mike Evans, Travis Hunter, and Calvin Ridley now, new addition. So if you're rolling with him or anybody else, you could let them go. Other drop candidates now. I'm going to mention right at the top, obligatory, Garret Wilson. So I actually dropped him in our league of record.
Got some big names here.
Yeah, for very big names. I dropped him in League of Record last week ahead of the Thursday night game because I absolutely needed roster space and I'm like I need to make some moves to actually get into the playoffs. That having been said, even for people that are actually taking that shot, I just want to point out he's missing next like he is 100% missing at least the next 3 games. If you could afford to hold him on, fine, but there's no guarantee he even plays in 2025. Not to mention the fact that even if they bring him back, like his health notwithstanding, and it'll be the first game of your
Yeah,
playoffs. I don't
it's a
know if you're going
lot.
to be.
It's a lot of money invested into that, to that player as well. So I don't know if especially they didn't trade him in the, before the trade deadline. I don't know if they're willing to, re-injure something that puts him into next year's questionability.
I Tommy, I talked to Johnny about this. So this is where I landed on Garrett Wilson for the general public. Uh, unless it is a foregone conclusion that you have a first round bye, you probably should drop him.
Yeah.
But that's again, maybe people are so obsessed with the name and they want to hope for it, but that's where I landed on it. All right, yeah. So to your point, other big names here. So Xavier Worthy. So guess what? He's the wide receiver 175 since week 5. Say goodbye. That's it. It's not Mahomes is going everywhere else. Let it go. It's just not gonna. It's
Yeah,
gonna
it's
be.
unfortunate because has such talent. I think he has some pretty nice matchups moving forward, but again, it's Travis Kelce has reawoken. So
We'll talk about him we'll talk. I'm sure we'll talk about Worthy as a spot start in 2 weeks. We'll get
yep.
to that. Yeah, we'll get to that.
Let's
Uh,
talk about Worthy as a spot start in week 1 of your fantasy football playoffs.
we'll get. Next name on this list, we talked about him last week. Keenan Allen. I mean, if we talked about him last week and now they just had this horrible performance, it's just let's let him go. They're going into the bye. He's not worth it anymore with Gadsden on the team. It's just the shine is wore off, and I know we like Keenan Allen, but it's just not worth it anymore. Let him go. That's it. All right. Talk about the Buffalo wide receivers, and we're going to talk about that
Are
more
we
today.
talking about all my wide receivers in one league right here?
All right.
Just drop them all.
Okay. So Khalil Shakir, who very nearly cost me, my league of record game. He couldn't do anything in a game where Buffalo put up 44 points. with Dalton Kincaid out, him as the lead receiver. He's been on this team
I
forever.
I would not go that far yet.
Not yet.
No, I would
Uh,
not go that far yet with Khalil Shakir. I don't think you have. Yeah, I mean the Shaver thing. Yes, he made some great plays, but honestly, I don't know if you could go that far with him. He's such a viable asset to that offense.
It didn't
Um,
seem like it.
but things happen. Some weeks things happen. And I just think that you're gonna make a mistake if you drop Khalil Shakir.
All right. Well, no issues on dropping the other guy, Keelan
No,
Coleman. Nope, let it go. We talked about him. All right. I don't know. I was this close to losing because of Khalil Shakir, man. It was just was irritating. Next guy on this list, I know how Tommy feels about it. He's just a full let him go. Terry McLaurin. I don't know if he's coming back, but like you said, even if he
I don't
does,
think he
is it
is.
worth it? Yeah, I mean, it's not even worth it. And they're going into the bye. Like I feel like it's not worth it. They got hard matchups coming up. Um, Other name here on drop candidates. So Chris Godwin, is he ever coming back?
Uh, I think based on the team, he probably will, but it's gonna be closer to your fantasy football playoffs. And I just don't know if it makes sense to hold on to him for that long. Um,
Yep.
kind of same situation as Garret Wilson, but this guy basically is coming in. He's treating an injury that he did come back to play, and then it was a mistake that he came back to play, so he's been inactive since then. I think that he has a very valuable role when he comes in. But and it's going to cut into, some of these other players that have been producing. But I don't know if it's somebody that I would hold on to right now.
Yep. No, I agree. And again, if we're talking about dropping guys like Garrett Wilson, like we're talking about dropping guys that are doing nothing for your team, you've got to get to the playoffs. You need stuff to happen. So you can't have dead weight like that on your team.
Yep.
And last name on this list, I'm happy to admit myself, when shots don't work out, but like Matt Golden, I mean, I
Ain't
identified
so golden.
So I identified him as a drop candidate a couple weeks ago for basically everywhere other than deep leagues, and now I've extended that to literally everywhere. He's the wide receiver 302 since week 7. At some point, the upside isn't worth it anymore, and I still maintain that there's some serious upside there. I mean, they drafted him as the number one wide receiver, a round one wide receiver. But the point is, you just have to read what you're seeing on the field. He's the fourth wide receiver on the team in terms of snaps and production on
Yep.
a team in which Jaden Reed isn't even back yet. I mean, and Jaden Reed should be back either within the next 2 to 3 weeks. And not
He
to,
has to be. I mean, there's been a lot of fantasy fails, and if you look at ADP and stuff like that, but he has to be one of the worst, one of the top worst. Let's just say top five fantasy fails this year.
it depends on what your definition of fantasy fails is. I mean, like if it depends where you took shots on him. If you
Oh,
were
this
taking
guy. I mean,
shots,
this guy was a heavy drafted guy. He was going in the same round, or if not a round earlier than Jaden Daniels, Jaden Reed.
oh well, both of which were not relevant for your team. But the thing,
No, but take away injury out of it. I mean, this guy basically has been on the field and he's not been productive. That there
right?
was that one week. Obviously, against Cincinnati, he had a good week. He had a decent week. He was wide receiver 22, and that was his highest rank. But there was that one week against Dallas where he dropped. He stepped out of bounds. He could have been
I
finished
know.
the top 12.
I know that's the
Outside of
one week
that,
that you got so mad at him. Yeah.
yeah. Outside of that, let's say week 8, 9, and 11, because week 10 he was inactive. He was wide receiver 70, wide receiver 76, and then wide receiver 73. Get
Right.
rid of him. He is done. Move on. No reason to have him on your roster. There are other talents out there that you
Yep.
could probably
Oh,
pick up to capitalize and potentially start over a trash ball.
yeah. Yeah, very nice. Yeah, so the point is let it go. And also, I mean, we're going to talk about Green Bay a little bit today, the pass catchers, but like, its value just isn't there. Like whatever it is that isn't otherwise being spread around, he isn't good enough at this point to be able to
I
overcome
I
that. So,
I also think it's a product of the quarterback play as well too, because I don't think Jordan Love has
yes,
been playing
he has not been.
so great at all. I think he's been, I won't say he's been playing trash, but he's been playing pretty rough.
They very nearly lost that game to the Giants.
Oh,
So
I know. The G-men
yeah.
are good when they don't let up. Actually, let's just put it this way. If they're playing from behind, they're going to be competitive. If they're playing ahead, well, they're going to let teams win.
Let's talk about probably owned. Here's another mini victory lap that Tommy could take here. I mean, not again, a lot of the victory laps that you take, they're not against me. It's not like I'm disagreeing with you. So you just take them against the general public who says things. So Jacoby Myers here. I mean,
Because I watch ball.
so Jacoby Myers, he's 70% on ESPN, 74% on Sleeper. You might be able to grab him here. He's got targets and production on that team, and they definitely need him. 5 for
Yeah.
6 this past week. I like Jacoby, right? Like,
Yeah, I mean, honestly, and the sentiment I talked about last week, he is if you still have an opportunity to make trades, which this probably should be the last week, um, because there's no reason for you guys to be making trades like or your league setting to be making trades 2, 3 weeks before the playoffs. You need that trade deadline needs to be a little bit sooner if this is the latest time, I think. But Jacoby Myers is somebody that you could still buy low. And he's definitely somebody that I would really want to target because he is a great route runner. He's showing up in places where he needs to be. He's a benefit to Trevor Lawrence with that kind of element. And also, he's still getting integrated into the system. They didn't need him last week because they were just beating up on the Chargers, um, which was very interesting. But you know, in competitive games, which I feel like the next 90% of their games are going to be super competitive, that he's going to be needed. And even with Brian Thomas on the field, let's just say he comes back,
right.
he is going to have a massive, massive role. And he's going to command anywhere from 4 to 7 targets. He's going to do stuff with those 4 to 7 targets, and he could pretty much score a touchdown with those 4 to 7 targets.
Uh,
So go get him. If he's on your waivers, he needs to be rostered. If he's not on waivers, try to make a trade. If you try to get this guy.
agree 100%. And they have got some nice matchups here the next 2 weeks at
Yeah.
Arizona and at Tennessee. So
Arizona's been playing pretty decent defense, but they were exposed
n-
last week.
not this past week.
Yeah, no, not this past week. But Arizona and Tennessee are really nice matchups. Then obviously you got Indianapolis, and if Brian Thomas is back, well, Sauce Gardner is basically on Brian Thomas. So there you go, Jacoby Myers.
But also, you could reassess at that point. You try to look at what's right in
Well,
front of
you're
you.
talking about season long. This guy's gonna be season long.
Yeah. Speaking of guys you could trade for too, the next guy on probably owned, Ricky Pearsall. So 67% on ESPN, 80% in sleeper. So maybe it's a lesser chance that you find him. However, I mean, if you want to take a trade, this is probably your last chance to acquire him. So like,
Correct.
and it's probably the best chance because he came back and he had a bad game, which to be honest is probably expected. It's your
It
first game
was,
back in, you're getting
yeah.
integrated. Purdy went to Kittle every play.
And he
So,
wasn't needed. And he wasn't needed really to be out there. Obviously, he was,
right.
I wouldn't say he was a decoy, but he was basically taking away the presence of commanding the rock like he did early in the year. So I think that, there was a lot of emotion in that with Purdy coming back and then basically just destroying. And honestly, again, product of the game. They did not need him just like Jacoby Myers. They're both ultra talented players that are going to command the ball for the rest of the season.
Yeah, just a reminder if you don't remember. So he was leading the NFL in yards for the first 3 weeks before he
Yep,
went down. So yeah, he needs to be. You need to gear up. He should have a nice good end to the season here.
correct.
And they got a good matchup this week at home against Carolina. Next name on this list, again, another one of Tommy's darlings here. So he's coming off the bye, Alec Pierce, who might be much more available. There's actually a decent enough chance. He's 40% on ESPN, 58% in sleeper. He's had such a really good year, and really, in my opinion, he's usurped like the number 2 role as the pass catcher in Indianapolis after Pittman, at least a wide receiver. I think Ty Warren's the lead guy there. So I 100% needs to be rostered, and they're going to be putting up points all year. So get yourself Alec Pierce.
Yep.
In terms of widely available guys here, so we got a couple names here, and I think Tommy and I are going to share the same sentiments about one of these guys. So, but top name on this list by far is Christian Watson. He's by far the best pass catcher in Green Bay at this point. Especially with Dobbs being kind of banged up and all this other stuff. I mean, in my opinion, it's a bit of a, Russian roulette kind of sometimes about who is getting the ball. And to your point, Tommy, about Jordan Love, the manner in which he's distributing and his lack of efficiency thus far at different times. But he's been good since he's returning. Pretty simple. He just had this big game. He seems to be the most valuable guy. I'd want Christian Watson on my team.
Yeah, you mean he's definitely somebody that needs to be rostered. I probably put him in the category of those three other guys we just discussed. I mean, he
Well, they're
shows,
probably owned, so that's
yeah,
fine.
and I know, but I'm saying the value, the
Sure.
kind of production that he's going to see is the same kind of value. The rest of these guys that were widely available that we'll
Yeah.
discuss are not in the same category.
Oh, not
Christian
close.
Watson is a very, very talented guy. He is pretty much their biggest receiver out there as well too. So he kind of takes on that Tucker loss. And I think that he basically is going to continue to see opportunities in the red zone, green zone, whatever you want to call it these days.
Next guy on this list, I feel like I put him in because it's obligatory because of the kind of game he had, but I didn't want to put him as an ad, but I guess I had to. So Tyrell Shavers of Buffalo. I think it's one of those, chase the points type of thing. I know you and I always agree on that kind of thing. The way I see Buffalo going forward is a basically just Josh Allen disseminating the ball as needed to whatever pass catcher is there. No alpha wide receiver, and now Kincaid should be back this week. So it's just like the wide receiver value there is very low. On top of the fact that Gabe Davis now is making appearances. So it's not like I'm interested in Tyrell Shavers. You agree with me?
Yeah. Like I said, don't chase last week's points.
Yep.
He's going to be added. So, congratulations to you guys that try to add him, but he's not going to be productive. So,
Yep. No,
not so congratulations.
I wouldn't, but we had to mention it at least. Darnell Mooney. So this one,
He is not, let's just put it this way. He is not the reason why they didn't make a trade for a wide receiver at the deadline. They didn't be like, oh, we got Tyrell Shavers now. He's going to be our wide receiver one. No, it doesn't work that way.
no, I think they like in general the guy. I think they realize that if they have Josh Allen, they're just going to figure it out. I think that's kind of why they did
I
it. They
mean,
should
Josh
have.
Allen rushed for
I know.
3 touchdowns as well. So,
I know. Johnny still thinks they should have traded for DJ Moore, and I think we think that too. For like,
yes,
value,
for DJ Moore's, life, yes,
fantasy
for
value.
sure.
Next name on here. So, Darnell Mooney, I don't want to put him here because I'm a notorious anti Darnell Mooney guy, but I'm not going to
Kirky
deny,
Cousins.
I'm not going to deny the fact that Kirk Cousins seems to like Darnell Mooney and the fact that Drake London will be out this game. So he's widely available. You should be able to get him. If you want to throw him in, I'm not going to fault anybody. I won't
I
be
mean,
doing
he
it, but
also, Drake London does have a PCL sprain, so he's definitely missing week 12. But again, that could lead into week 13, potentially week 14. I mean, if you look at it from the perspective, they lost, and they lost another game against the Panthers.
Carolina.
So not saying that they're going to close shop, but I mean, it sounds like, you don't want to really rush your players back if, you're slowly getting yourself out of contention to, make a playoff berth, especially with your star quarterback being out. And now you got your highest paid backup coming back in. I just don't know if it's a smart thing to do, but I think Darnell Mooney could be a nice little ad option. He might even just surpass waivers, and you could probably pick him up.
Maybe. I'm not so crazy about it because I don't think he's as talented as it comes off. But that, hey, I won't deny the opportunity.
I will say
Um,
this is a downgrade on Pitts now, though.
I think it's an upgrade for him.
Don't know about that.
Well, if he can't make do with the targets and the opportunities that he's given, then what is he doing? So and he's still in the contract year, so I think it's a bit of a bump for Pitts.
Okay.
Uh, Last name we have here, Andre Iosivas, and this is basically just a 1 week rental. So after Jamar Chase's saliva incident this
Spit
past
Gate
week,
2.0.
he's not going to play. So since he's not going to play, that basically leaves T. Higgins and Iosivas as the main wide receiver weapons for Flacco. They're at home against a tough a tough Patriots team, but I think it's worth it for just 1 week. There's a whole host of names I'd rather throw him in than Tyrell Shavers. So just
For
for
sure.
just for a 1 week rental. I just want to point out there's a couple of names on here that I purposely did not put. So like for example, Arizona wide receivers, I did not put here because first of all, Harrison's back, and second of all, you're not going to have a game where you have 47 completions from your quarterback every single game. So that would be one where I'm not chasing points.
Whatever what happened with Michael Wilson, you cannot move on. You can't just move on from that. I think 18 targets for 15 receptions. He caught pretty much every single one of his targets. Um, they're going to be throwing the ball. I think Brissett hyper targeting a player like that, especially with Marvin Harrison being out again this week, most likely. This is somebody that I would probably
I think he's playing this week.
no, I mean, I think I don't know. The more I listen to the injury report, I do believe that he's going to have one more week out. If he is out, Michael Wilson is a play for me.
I agree with that, but I think it's a full not even worth to be rostering him if he's not. But okay, that's fair enough. I could add him to our
That is
list
the
for that.
one. That is the one. Again, we talk about targets. 18 targets is
Right.
astronomical.
Okay. I'll add him to that list. That's a fair enough point. I wouldn't want to play him if Harrison's playing though. And
Him, Michael Wilson over each of us this week.
any other wide receiver names that you wanted to mention?
No,
I mean,
yeah,
there's a bunch of other guys that had some production that we're not chasing points for. I'm not mentioning any Jets receiver. I'm not mentioning, I mean, like we're letting all that other stuff go.
yeah. I mean, I don't want to talk too much about the Patriots wide receivers. I mean, we already
Yeah.
know Demario Douglas when Butte is back, Demario Douglas is, hit or miss, and they're not getting like
Right.
targeted with volume. I mean, I think the only really possessional receiver right now is Matt Collins. He got 17 for 12 for 179 yards, but he's not scoring touchdowns. So, he's
And
pretty much what
he's hit or miss too. I mean, he's had some games. I
yeah.
mean,
But the past couple weeks, past 2 weeks, 10 targets, 6 receptions, 5 targets, 4 receptions. So, he's getting that. He has 170 yards within those 2 weeks, but he's not getting the touchdowns. So he's getting the yards through the air, but he's not getting the touchdowns.
let's talk tight ends. Drop IR guys. Same deal. Anybody who's still rostering Tucker Kraft, he's not coming back this season. Yoki let him go. Other drop candidates. So at the top of the list, okay, very similar stuff to Garret Wilson. You've got Sam Laporta. So
Yep.
he was declared on IR before this past game. So he went through the game. He's going to miss at least the next 3 games. Honestly, I don't care what your positioning is. You probably can't afford to hold on to him. I
Yeah.
mean, you'd be holding on to multiple tight ends, even if you're, looking like you're gonna, get the first round buy or anything. It's not like he was a needle mover at tight end. This isn't Trey McBride or anything. I mean, he was good. And especially like a very close to probably must start for a lot of the weeks. You probably can't afford to keep him. If you're in any way fighting, I mean, I wouldn't even do it if I was getting the buy. So I feel like you should just let him go. Um,
Yeah, I
T
mean, and especially when they come back, they have really tough matchups, especially, they have a really rough schedule rest of the season into the
yeah,
playoffs.
it's funny if you look at Detroit's next couple matchups, like he's missing all their good matchups
Yeah.
now coming up. TJ Hockenson, again, we talk about him every week. Enough with him. He hasn't had a good game since week 3. Let him go. He's the most underwhelming tight end this entire year, and people are they're still on the train.
Yeah.
I don't get what they're doing.
I
Let him go.
unfortunately in one league, basically, I took the risk with TJ Hockenson. I had to drop Sam Laporta because of the IR, and I needed a tight end, and TJ Hockenson did not do anything for me.
No, he did not. Zach Ertz here, he had a bad game and he's going into a bye. It's not going to be that good with Mariota. The upside there is capped. Let him go. I feel like there's more upside to be had elsewhere. Let him go. No need for that. And Evan Ingram, we talk about him every week. He hasn't had a good game since week 5 and he's going into the bye. So let him go. Not worth it anymore. So let's go to probably owned again, which is where most of the good tight ends sit. Top of the list by far is Dalton Schultz. Three solid games in a row, and he's been good for most of the year. I sort of said that I was thinking at some point the train was going to end, but I don't know. Maybe there's no reason to think it will end. So I like Dalton Schultz. They've got some tough matchups coming up, but I like Dalton Schultz. Just as
Yeah. I
sheer
mean,
PPR.
the past 5 weeks, he outside of one week, he finished in the top eight. So, he's definitely somebody that I would want to target. And again, those are not coming off of production with touchdowns. Just 1 week with a touchdown.
Yep.
That was week 10. So, when you're getting targets, you're catching your balls and you're basically getting those yards. That's the biggest thing. And the craziest thing about it is, let's just put it this way. If you're in a bonus for tight end receptions, he is a ultra valued play. He has to be targeted. Especially for the rest of the season because they have some nice matchups moving forward outside of Kansas City and outside of Indianapolis. So they have really, really nice matchups moving forward. He could basically be a nice plug-in rest of the season.
Yep. No, I agreed 100%. Other probably own Hunter Henry. So he's always streamable every single week. But an extra nod goes to this week because they're playing Cincinnati. So you could roll with him. Cade Otton. So, I've been identifying him basically every single week the last couple of weeks now, and he's been great, but he had a really super disappointing game this past game. That happens. So I'm willing to move past that and keep going with this. I think it was just a function of Sean Tucker taking literally everything for the Bucks offense. So I'd continue to roll with Cade Otton, and they're going to need him against the
Well,
Rams here.
Sean Tucker is what kept them in the game, so they just kept rolling with them.
Yep. But let's maybe talk about the best name and probably owned. And this one he might be available. So ESPN, he's 35% and in sleeper 58%. Who am I talking about? Juwan Johnson of
This
the New
guy is
Orleans
going.
Saints.
Juwan Johnson is going to help people win championships this year.
I agree, and this might be your last chance to try to get him. And he might be right off your waiver
You
wire.
should have got him last week.
Right, but a lot of people maybe they couldn't roster multiple tight ends. People don't forget how good he's been as of late. He's worth throwing right back in. I have nothing else to say other than get him and play him at this point. And hopefully Tyler Show can keep the ceiling a little higher than what it's been for the Saints. So that's what we hope. So that's probably owned. So let's just talk about widely available. Tommy, I only have one name in widely available because again, most of the good tight ends at this point are being rostered now. So the only tight end here is not your favorite guy, but it is what it is. It's AJ Barner. So it's been a lot of red light, green light with him this year, but honestly, the green lights are so good that they're really worth it. I think the Seattle bounces back, especially this week at Tennessee. He needs to be thrown in lineups. They're going to bounce back. Don't take a Darnold 4 interception game as a standard for the year. They're going to bounce back. I think AJ Barner is a perfectly good option to pick
I
up.
mean, I can agree with you. He just needs the targets. The problem is, the greatest thing is he catches about 92% of his balls, which is very, very,
Yep.
very high. The only problem is it's so inconsistent what he's going to get. So there could be a week where he only gets 3 targets. There could be a week he only get 1 target, and that's basically the consistency ratio. The highest, the highest he's had was 7 and then 11. That's it. So 4 or less, and if you can hopefully hope and pray for a touchdown with that 4 or less, then you're fine. But the problem is you can't really win weeks with your tight end position with 4 or less targets.
No, and honestly, there's not the tight end options this week are not so good, and things are like we're starting to notice a consolidation of like people are figuring out who the worth it tight ends are. So finding just you could find a random person to throw in there, but we're trying to get you guys
Well,
like
let me ask you.
the
Let me
best
ask
that are
you.
there.
Would you play AJ Barner this week against Tennessee, or would you play Dalton Schultz against Buffalo?
Dalton Schultz, but he might not be available. You know,
Okay.
right? Like, but you have to compare him against somebody who has like around the same roster.
Okay.
I'd
Let
rather
me
play
ask you
AJ
this.
Barner than Chiga Conquo.
Let me ask you this. It's not December, but would you play the Santa Claus, or would you play AJ Barner?
Would you?
I probably played Noah Fant this week with no Jamar Chase.
That's an interesting option. I think I would still play Barner at Tennessee. I do. I
It's close to December, guys. You know, Fanta Claus is making his way back to town.
That's your favorite favorite guy. No, that's a good point. I don't think I think Barner's perfectly good though. So,
Okay.
um, you ready to move on to streamers?
Let's go to streamers.
Welcome to the A Stream for all you lovely listeners streaming quarterback and or defense, where we will do our very best to hook you guys up with widely available options at both positions to go and win you your week and maybe even win you your league. So at the quarterback position, this is not a good week for quarterback streamers. Most of the quarterbacks that are worth having are already rostered. So sifting through that minefield, we've got three viable names for you guys. We got Jacoby Brisset, widely available in both leagues. He's now at home against Jacksonville. Jacoby Brisset, record-setting NFL Jacoby Brisset. We got Trevor Lawrence at Arizona in the same game, widely available, and Bryce Young, 450-yard, Carolina passing record. Bryce Young, who is now at San Francisco, who has not been that good of a defense this whole year. Of these options, um, are you most interested in Jacoby Brissett? Because I think that's where I am here.
Yeah, I think I am interested in Jacoby Brissett. But
I'm a little worried
honestly,
about Jacksonville's defense,
let
to
me
be
tell you
honest.
something right now. Let me tell you something. I am worried about Jacksonville defense. But I think he's going to put up points. Let me tell you something right now. I was listening to that week breakdown show last week with you and Johnny, and
Mhm.
Johnny said something about Bryce Young saying, "Are we done with Bryce
That's
Young?
right,
Are
that's
we
right.
done?" Well, guess what? We're not done because Bryce Young went off and he won that game and he had a tremendous, tremendous week. So, Johnny, we are not done. We are not done. Bryce Young is my streamer start this week. He is my number one streamer start this week out of these three guys.
Right.
There is one other player that I
Oh,
potentially could put into this mix.
who?
It is the Texans quarterback situation. You got CJ Stroud or you got or you got Davis Mills. I think honestly CJ Stroud comes back and they are going against Buffalo. I think he could be a nice streaming option as well.
Yeah, I was a little worried about that. Yeah, that's perfectly acceptable. I can add them to
But
that list.
Bryce Young, we are not done with you. We are
Bryce
not
Young.
done. Bryce
No,
Young, Bryce Young.
no, we're not done. Now, to make Johnny feel better, I'm gonna actually push back on you with something regarding San Francisco, and as we talk about the defenses, okay? So yeah, Bryce Young had a really nice game, and now they're playing, a dissipated San Francisco defense who again looked decent enough against Arizona. It could very well be a shootout. However, I just want to point out, okay, as we talk about defenses in a minute, last week when we were prepping to get ahead of defenses in our high stakes league, I said to you, hey, listen, here's some two good options for this week, the Raiders and the 49ers. And you completely poo-pooed the Raiders as an idea. And we'll talk about the game line for that in a moment. And you said, no, 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 I want the 49ers. No, 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 I want the 49ers. The 49ers are going to crush it. How can you reconcile Bryce Young having an amazing game and the 49ers crushing it this week?
I don't know. We'll see.
Okay.
That's that's
Okay.
that's that's my take.
Okay. All right. Let's talk about defenses here. So, as opposed to quarterbacks, this is a pretty good week for streaming defenses. So in no particular order, we got the Bills with the most to second most widely owned if they're available. They're at Houston. So pretty good matchup there. They're 45% ESPN, 54% in sleeper. They might not be there. The Falcons are similar, 43% in ESPN, 60% in sleeper. They're at New Orleans. So definitely a good option there. Could be a lower scoring game. But in the same game, you could roll with the Saints, who are very widely available. They are at home against Atlanta. This is the Kirk Cousins led Atlanta without Drake London. So they're severely handicapped there. But let's talk about the Browns and Raiders, both of which are options. I mean, that game line, it's like 36 or 35 points right now, the over under. So you could start both defenses 100%. The Browns, by the way, I mean, I should stop, doubting the Browns even in horrific matchups. I mean, they're good no matter who they play at this point. So the problem is their offense is just so bad.
Yeah. And
So
the Raiders, I will say the Raiders are going to capitalize on a lot of interceptions this week, most likely.
they are. It'd be nice if we had the Raiders defense, wouldn't it? Um, talking about other defensive options. So
Well, if Shador Sanders was basically the go-to guy, I would probably have, leaned that way. But again, it is what it is.
yeah, would you have changed? Would your mind really have been different if it was Dylan Gabriel?
Yes,
No, no, it would not.
completely.
So even given what I said, the 49ers defense is a lower tier defensive option this week. They are at home against Carolina. And the reason I bring this up is I kind of just challenged Tommy on the whole Bryce Young thing. I actually think Bryce Young is not going to perform as well. So this is me defending Tommy from last week and not defending him from this week, against the 49ers defense. I think they're going to come to play. It's going to be an interesting game. And then let's just talk about the Bears defense. So I think the Bears defense is bad from an NFL perspective. Like, did they let up a lot of yards or whatever? But from a fantasy perspective, they are opportunistic. Aren't they like the lead in terms of turnovers, etc.? Now they're at home against Pittsburgh, which is likely to be Mason Rudolph this week.
Hmm.
I think the Bears could be a great play this week. We'll keep you guys updated on what the Aaron Rodgers situation is. But obviously, Aaron Rodgers' situation is that he broke his hand, his non-throwing hand.
Yeah.
So he should be okay going forward. But this should be an interesting game against Chicago if he's not going to be there. So those are the streaming options, and so that's the week. So just a reminder, all of our drop candidates and waiver options will be posted in the description of this episode's video on YouTube. So please remember to check us out there. Um, any other closing thoughts, Mr. Lang?
Yeah, we truly appreciate everybody that takes the time to watch the video. So if you could please share, like, and subscribe, we truly appreciate it.
We do. And that's it, everybody. So we'll
We'll
see you
see you
next
on the
time,
next one on Thursday.
Thursday. See you, everybody.